Marvel Studios has been under a microscope lately by not only the fans, but now the industry. Major outlets are writing pieces about Marvel Studios asking the question, are they done? Insiders are writing massive books about what is happening at Marvel Studios right now and what their end game plan is. And while Marvel Studios may not be performing at the same capacity that it was prior to Phase 4 of the MCU, I still believe that Marvel Studios can make really great movies and can turn the MCU around and make the last half of the multiverse saga and the beginning of the mutant saga amazing. And it looks like Marvel Studios has put things in plan to make sure that happens, starting with getting Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans to return. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren Thompson, and you probably have heard all of the news going around lately with the Variety article, with the new book, MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios. Plus, we've been talking about it on the channel for a little bit. Marvel Studios might be considering doing a reboot of the MCU after Secret Wars. In fact, it sounds like they're pretty much going to do it, although it's going to be a soft reboot, not a hard reboot. They're not just going to start over. A part of the current universe that our main MCU is in right now will still remain. However, with the premise of the multiverse and Avengers Secret Wars, it opens up the possibility to essentially do anything. And there are two parts to this when it comes to before Secret Wars and after Secret Wars, specifically in regards to Robert Downey Jr. returning and Chris Evans returning as well, plus not to mention somebody like Scarlett Johansson also returning. We'll break down everything you need to know in this video. And quick reminder, if you want a chance to win a PS5, an Xbox Series X, some Marvel Legends items, or some DC items, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and leave a comment on our videos. This automatically enters you in our giveaway. We do one every single month. The winner gets to pick one item and we pick one winner at the end of each month. So according to the Insider, My Time to Shine Hello, both Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans have already agreed to return to the MCU. Now, I mentioned that there were two parts to this. This is going to be part one. The two of them returning for Avengers Secret Wars. This is something that just makes sense. This is something that we've been talking about since we found out the whole plot for this saga is the multiverse saga, and it's all leading up to Avengers Secret Wars. Since we found that out, and probably even before, we've been speaking about this. Why? Because it just makes sense. It would make sense, one, to satisfy the fans, but two, story-wise, it would also make a lot of sense. If you're going to have a movie that shows us variants from a lot of different universes and have the multiverse come together at the end to fight on one giant king army of variants, it would make sense that we would see some OG Avengers variants. Some of the same character played by the same person. For example, Iron Man played by Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans playing Captain America again, but then you could have some different variants like Chris Evans playing the Human Torch or John Krasinski playing Captain America because he auditioned for that role. You could even have Loki being a variant of Thor since he auditioned to play Thor originally as well. This is stuff we've been talking about for a while. It just makes sense to do. And in the report, My Time to Shine Hello tweeted, sources confirmed that Chris Evans also agreed to come back for Avengers Secret Wars. However, in her original tweet about Robert Downey Jr., she just simply said Robert Downey Jr. agreed to come back. Now, this brings us to part two, after Avengers Secret Wars. And it also comes with a really big question that I'll ask you after we explain this. But part two is Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans remaining in the MCU as a part of the main universe after Secret Wars, remaining in the MCU after the reboot. Now, if you've been watching our podcast, you know that me and Law have been talking about the possibility of after the reboot, these characters coming back for a while now. That was us just trying to predict things and us being fans. But then the book MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios came out with a lot of inside information about Marvel, and they stated that Marvel Studios is considering bringing them back for the soft reboot. And then to top it all off, a lot of people saw that Variety article talking about them coming back. And if you didn't, here is the title. Crisis at Marvel. Jonathan Majors' backup plans, the Marvels reshoots, reviving original Avengers, and more issues revealed. So now a lot of people are talking about Marvel Studios having plans to revive the original Avengers. We are talking about Iron Man, Captain America, and Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. Now this is coming at a time where, as Variety puts it, there is a crisis at Marvel. And whether you think it's a major crisis at Marvel Studios right now or not, we do know that Marvel Studios is definitely changing their plans and coming up with new plans. They were recently on their retreat, and Variety states that normally when they go for this retreat, everybody is very happy, very confident, even cocky, but this time it was full with angst because they know that they've got a lot of work to do. They know that there's a lot of fans out there that aren't happy with the MCU right now. And I know there's a lot of fans that are still happy out there, but Marvel Studios still wants to go back to everybody being happy and everything they do being a complete home run. So right now, one of the problems that they have is we don't really have an Iron Man of the MCU right now. I know somebody stated in a live stream of mine the other day that Loki is kind of the new Iron Man of the MCU, and I would have to agree kind of, because I don't know if you could really say that somebody else is the main person of the MCU right now. Maybe Doctor Strange, maybe Spider-Man, but we haven't seen much of him recently. But as far as importance goes, I definitely think Loki is probably the most important person right now due to his involvement with the TVA, his involvement directly with the multiverse, plus the TVA goes into Deadpool 3, where we think we're going to get that multiversal Avengers team, which goes into Secret Wars. That is exactly how Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans are going to return. So Loki plays a very big part. However, when you ask somebody who is the main person, it's really hard to actually give an answer. And that is something that Marvel Studios kind of considers a problem right now because it was very definitive in the Infinity Saga. You asked who the leader of the MCU was, you said Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. Even as these other heroes like Doctor Strange came in and Spider-Man came in and the Guardians of the Galaxy, we loved them all, but we still knew at the heart of it all were those three. And of course, those were the three that would go on to fight Thanos alone. Ultimately, everybody joined, of course, but they were at the heart of the MCU. Right now, we don't really have much heart. It doesn't really focus on one person, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. But it looks like Marvel Studios might be trying to change that by bringing back Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. and possibly Scarlett Johansson. They'll come back for Secret Wars, they'll do a soft reboot, and they will remain in the main universe that we proceed forward with for the MCU. So that's part two. Part one is they'll return for Secret Wars. Part two is they will remain for the next saga of the MCU. But here's my question that I told you I was going to ask. Do you think this will actually fix the MCU? Don't get me wrong, I would love to see them back, and I do think it would enhance the MCU, but I still think at the core right now, honestly, is bad writing. I think that is the core of it, because one thing that's really lacking right now is an emotional connection to all of these characters that we are seeing, and I think ultimately that comes down to the writing. Loki Season 2 has amazing writing, and we care about Loki a lot. Yes, he's been around since Phase 1, but if the writing for Loki Season 2 was terrible, then people would be tearing it apart right now as well. It wouldn't be that hard. But having some characters return that you could invest a lot of your heart into, that you could also revolve the MCU around, might be what the MCU is missing right now, and they could essentially revive that by bringing back these characters that we know and we love. But should they do that, or should we try to get invested in new characters moving forward? Because if Robert Downey Jr. returns, if Chris Evans returns, which it sounds like they are, how long exactly will they stay for? Are they going to want to stick around another 10 years? They already retired their characters. Are they going to come back and commit to something that long? Coming back for Avengers Secret Wars is a no-brainer. It's one movie, and they probably won't play a giant role in that movie, but probably show up for the end for a giant fight. But could they commit to doing several more movies for the MCU? If they can, kudos to them. Awesome. We'd love to see them return. We definitely want them for Secret Wars, but go ahead and let us know in the comments down below. Do you think they should return and be main characters moving forward in the next saga after Avengers Secret Wars? Leave your thoughts telling us what you think down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest news. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter as well. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.